Welcome to this week's episode of the Digital Access Show. So, we've been covering some interesting stuff. A few weeks ago, we looked at the Brisbane 2032 Games and what's it going to be to make it a good Games for people with disability. We're still running the Commonwealth Games have finished now in Glasgow. We've had Alan Parker talk about good digital communication, what it is. Letitia Thompson from Centre for Accessibility talking again about social media and the fact it oftentimes is not accessible. Well, I'm going to go back to the other end of the spectrum and introduce you to Bernard Jones from Impact Training. And I'm sorry if I've got that wrong, Bernard, because Bernard, he's got some interesting stuff to talk about. Please welcome Bernard Jones.
Thank you very much, Narelle.
Bern, I know I keep getting the name of your company wrong. Tell me
That's
what you
okay.
do. Tell me a little
Impact
bit about
Corporate
you.
Training.
That's it, yes.
So I started Impact Corporate Training with my wife in Singapore 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always focused on sales and customer service training, experiential learning, making training realistic and interesting. And living in Singapore is very interesting because virtually every company worth its salt had either a region or a global headquarters there. And
Mm-hmm.
that meant they had plenty of training budget. And
Mm-hmm.
experiential training was pretty new in that region. So we had a great start
Can you
looking at
explain what
designing.
experiential training is for those that
Yeah,
aren't aware?
yeah, experiential training is where, take for example, something like presentation skills. If you're teaching someone presentation
Mm-hmm.
skills, well, experiential training is firstly, you want to see, give them an experience. Let's see what you are like doing
Mm-hmm.
a presentation right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this experience part of it. Show us what you can do. And then there's a reflection upon that where a person analyzes what they think they did right and what they think they did wrong. And then
Mm-hmm.
you as an expert would give some feedback on that, what you think they did well and what they can improve upon. And then you give them some technique, which they can then take away and think about. And then they would apply that and stand up and do another presentation. And what you see with experiential learning is that people improve very, very quickly.
Okay.
And the whole idea being that they can then take that back to when they are actually doing a presentation and they've learned to eliminate the things they were doing that were distracting or detrimental to how they were perceived, and they do more of their strengths, do more of the things that keep people engaged. So that's experiential learning
Mm-hmm.
compared to, say, classroom,
Yeah.
what's it called? Pedagogical training,
Yeah.
which is where a teacher would tell you what you need to do right,
Right.
what you need to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That
yeah,
makes
but,
sense. That
mm,
actually makes a lot of sense now to me.
mm.
So you focus in customer service and sales?
We did for many
Mm.
years. And then I moved back to Australia 14 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And a relative of mine who was telling me all about his role, he's a subject matter expert in the field of digital accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me that this should be an area that we could start to look at as a training field, because he knew that what we did was we would always bring in subject matter experts and we would provide the training design methodology around it, the
Mm-hmm.
experiential training methodology. So whatever your topic is, we would be able to run a training course on that, provided that we were able to obtain the appropriate subject matter expertise.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, being an expert in this field, we sat down and we talked about, well, what would an interesting digital accessibility training course look like? What actually is it? What
Mm-hmm.
does it mean? What's the problem that you're trying to fix? And
And that
as I come to learn more about it, I'm shocked.
and that was the first time you'd run into digital accessibility as well.
I'd seen it on my computer. I'd seen the accessibility button on my computer,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
had no idea what it was. And I'd seen accidentally hit the accessibility button on a remote control on my TV and it just started talking to me. And I thought, that's really annoying, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
So I knew nothing about it. And I started to learn about it. And then when we figured out that this is actually something that's going to become more prominent and necessary because government is starting to really focus on um, making digital accessibility a mandatory requirement across departments and across
Mm-hmm.
government entities, we thought, well, there's going to be a need for people to learn exactly what it is and how to go about making content accessible. So my disclaimer, Narelle, is that I'm not a subject matter expert in this field
Yeah.
by any stretch of the imagination, but I have been working with digital accessibility experts over the last 2.5 years, which is the amount of time I've dedicated to this,
Mm.
which is indicative of how much of a problem I see this as being and how much of an opportunity I see this as being. That,
Okay, well, I'm going to ask the
um,
question. How
hmm.
much of a problem is it?
Well, we started doing some research in this field and we found that there aren't readily available statistics as to how many people face digital accessibility barriers, but there are all
Mhm.
sorts of cohorts of people, some people with disability, um, some people with neurodivergence, other people with low literacy levels, people that are elderly, people that might be deaf, people that come from culturally, linguistically diverse backgrounds that face digital accessibility barriers. They
Mm.
simply can't do the things that I can do in accessing and finding and using information on their computer. And that shocked me. At least 1 in 5. At least 1 in 5. It's probably more like 1 in 4.
Why did it
And
shock you?
because what that means is that 20% or 25% of people out there, the population, can't access information on the computer.
Did it shock you because it wasn't something you'd thought about? Or
Yeah,
was it just the scope of the problem, or was it both?
it really shocked me because for both reasons, actually, Narelle. We
Mm.
developed a course on business writing several years ago with a
Mm.
journalist here from Australia, and
Mhm.
I asked him about it. He didn't know anything about it. Um,
Really? I would have
yeah,
thought a journalist of all,
no,
because we're talking plain English, we're talking a heap of different
certainly that
stuff.
aspect of journalism is obviously part of the whole digital accessibility
Yeah,
solution. But there's more to it, right? There's more about
yeah.
formatting documents and
Mm.
using alt text and so on. That's all the different techniques that you use for ensuring ensuring documents are more accessible, ensuring websites are more accessible. But so that really shocked me. Firstly, the scale of the problem, that,
Mm.
that 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 people can't actually do what I can do in finding information and using on a computer.
Yeah,
And the other thing that shocked me was that when we started to research this, we found that there's this seminal case, right? The case of Bruce Maguire versus SOCOG, where a blind man could not access information about the Sydney Olympic events that he wanted to go to
yeah.
and took SOCOG to court and won.
Mm.
But that was 25 years ago, 2000 Olympics.
Mm.
And I thought, well, why hasn't this problem been solved? Because that was 25 years ago. And from what I understand, I've heard a few different versions of this number, but less than 20% of government documents on websites are inaccessible, which means that people that need to use government services, in a lot of cases, cannot use them.
Yeah, I don't know the actual percentage, but that wouldn't surprise me because it's a problem. For those that don't know, I actually am blind. It's a problem that I live with daily. I mean, I
Yeah.
had one today and I'm trying to work out, it was opening an email to find out some information and I couldn't find it out. And it
What sort
took
of
me an
email were you
hour.
opening?
It was an
Oh,
they sent something as a HTML page, which I thought, oh,
oh,
HTML, brilliant. This will be no problems at all.
yeah.
Well, it was really, really hard. And there is no way a person with that's elderly could have done it unless they were technical
Yeah,
minded.
right.
There was no
Which
way.
which must be incredibly frustrating for you. I mean,
Yeah,
you're an expert in this field.
and I'm technical. I eventually worked out what I had to do, but I shouldn't have had to do it.
So even someone with your advanced IT skills and knowledge of digital accessibility, you're still facing problems every day. I remember you telling me the other day, just your telephone bill, for
Oh,
example,
yeah,
bank statement,
bank
PDFs.
statement, electric bills, gas
Mm.
bills, you can everything, body corporate bills. They're a nightmare.
So you
Yeah,
need to get someone to read these documents
yeah.
to you, correct?
Yeah, so the next body court bill, I've said to my sons, yeah, it's coming. I think it'll be a new BPay number because that's all graphics. So they've just said, yeah, they read it, they send me the numbers, I pay the bill. I don't need anyone to pay a bill for me, but
Mm.
I've got to have someone to read the bill to make sure it's correct. And that's the other thing people don't realize. I can't verify anything because
Right.
it's not accessible. I mean, so for you, when I'm sitting here saying these things, what are your thoughts?
I'm, I'm, I continue to be shocked
Yeah.
because you're not the only one,
No,
right?
I'm not.
And you know a lot more about this subject, and you're so much more skilled in this area with IT, using
Mm,
computers, than probably most people our kind of age, right?
mm.
And beyond. And you still face problems with it. So how about everybody else, and that don't have people to read this
Yeah.
information to them, people that live on their own, for example,
Oh, yep.
and and who do they get to help them? And the other thing also really that makes me really wonder why governments haven't focused on this, because I don't think it's that expensive to fix. I mean, it's a
Mm.
matter to me, and please tell me if I'm oversimplifying this. It's a matter of training people on how to use the basic tools on your computer. You don't need any new software.
That's
To
it.
use the basic tools on your computer to format documents you know, and, and, and use all the techniques associated
Mm.
with creating out text, and making sure
What?
tables are formatted accessibly and so on. I mean, it's not that hard to do.
No, do you know
And
where I think it? I could
why
be
don't they do
wrong.
it?
They never experienced the problem. Everyone has had a flat tire at some time. So you learn how to change a flat tire or how to deal with the situation.
Yeah.
Everyone has had a cut finger. So you've always got band-aids on hand.
Mm.
You know, all those things, those normal everyday problems, everyone's run out of milk at some stage. They've,
Analogy.
yeah, they've never experienced the problem. I, to me, it's really frustrating, but I don't think what people realize is how it's the lack of confidence that it creates in the person that's sending the letter or the bill or anything too, isn't it? Because, Bern, when you get let's put it this way, if you go and get a, an address, right? We'll pick something simple. We'll get an address. You've got the name of the building and the address. And you'll think, oh, yeah, that's right. Then you go on, I think, Google Maps. Let's pick Google Maps. And Google Maps says, oh, there's the name of the building. Oh, but that's not the address. It's this address. Then you might say, okay, well, I better check this. I'll go onto the website because you've got something in an email, Google Maps, and now the website says, oh, it's actually that address. You've got the ability to say, oh, hang on here and double check it and verify and work it out, right? I can't.
Yep. Mm. Yeah.
I've got to. Well,
What
I
do you
know
do?
what I do. Well, I have to email the person I'm meeting, whatever, saying, "Can you please verify the
Mm.
address?" Or I just don't
Mm.
go. It's as simple as
Mm.
that. I have been in the situation with three different addresses, and I was halfway there, so I said, "Okay, well, let's go." And in the end, I rang the summit organizer, and she said, "Oh, no, no, it's this address. It was someone had made a mistake." But that loss of confidence and lack of
Yes.
you don't trust things
Yes.
with
And I
what.
think also it has an enormous impact on the self-esteem of
Oh, yeah.
people who face digital accessibility barriers. And the classic example that when we were developing, so we developed an e-learning course on this. We
Hmm.
called it MIDA, Making Your
Hmm.
Documents Accessible. Um, and this e-learning course, we created an animated video of a person who has low vision,
Hmm.
who required a screen reader, um, and was going into a meeting, um, and had to have the latest data to present to a group of stakeholders who were
Hmm.
going to make a decision about something. And the table with the new information came in, and it was inaccessible. And so this
mm,
person was stuck trying to get, struggling with the numbers, couldn't
mm.
deliver a convincing story, and was, shouted down by everybody because they lost all confidence in standing up there and
Yeah,
basically delivering this report.
yeah.
And because they weren't certain about the numbers. Because when they played and the screen reader read the table that the numbers were in, it came out as a blur of non-contextual
Mm,
data that you couldn't make any sense of. And this was an animated example, but I spoke to a leading Australian disability advocate about
mm.
this case, and he said to me, that actually happens to me in meetings all the time.
Yep.
I get stuff that comes in on my phone. I'm supposed to understand it,
Mm,
and I can't, and I've got to get someone to read it to me. And so
mm,
I think that what happens is that people, would find that kind of work environment where no one is taking this seriously, where you are excluded, probably unintentionally, most likely unintentionally, because
mm.
people don't think about it. People have no idea about digital accessibility.
I agree with you there. What, is it just one section that needs to change? Is it, how do you do this, Bern? How do we go about fixing this issue? We've talked about lack of confidence. We've talked about people not being able to pay bills. We've talked about people not being able to find information. How do you
Make it
change these things?
mandatory in primary schools. Children use computers
In
in primary
primary
schools.
schools. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's no more difficult than learning how to cut and paste.
Actually,
You
that's
know,
true.
it's not. It's just
Yeah.
another function on a computer. You got to know where it is and how to use it.
Yeah.
And there's a number of different functions, right? But
Yeah.
children, they just absorb this information, and if you make it just something that they have to learn,
Mm,
they then start producing accessible documents and accessible PowerPoints and accessible web content from the time they're kids, and that then becomes ingrained in their nature. It's like learning how to spell and
yeah.
write.
Yeah.
And then it becomes part of the high school and university and workplace, And so to me, I think that there's a pretty simple solution. Make it mandatory
Mm,
in schools so children learn how to make accessible documents, and and make it mandatory in all government departments,
yeah.
because government doesn't have any competition.
No.
You see the banks tend to be focused on this. They know that if they make their websites and the content on them accessible, they're going to attract that market, which means increased revenue
Mm,
and market share. But the government's already got that. So there doesn't appear to be any real genuine incentive or any consequence for
mm.
not doing it.
Bern, what would you say to that business person? I mean, that says, well, they'll say one or two things. Number one, oh, I don't have a person with disability that's a client. And number two, not doing this. It's just adding cost. It's just, I can't afford it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're a business person. If you'd been told you've got to do this 15 years ago, what would your reaction have been without having the knowledge you've got now?
yeah. Let me just go back and clarify something I just said
Yeah.
about making this
Hmm.
mandatory government. I mean, there are certain government departments that are very strong in this area,
Hmm.
and full credit to them. And they are making it mandatory, and they're doing a lot of training around this. And a lot of government departments have websites with courses on them on how to make content accessible.
Mm,
And I know that that is very, very much the case, but not everyone is doing
mm,
this, right?
hmm.
So there are notable exceptions. But in business, basically what gets measured gets done, right? And
Yep.
if you know that if you realize that there's a percentage of people, a considerable percentage of your market out there that um, that need to see an accessible website and need to be able to access the content on it, or they can't do business with you,
Mm,
well, then it's a very simple thing. It's a very simple investment. The return on investment is enormous because it's not that difficult to do. And then you suddenly have all of these people that couldn't use your website that you didn't even know about, right? But now they can. So you would see an uptick in the traffic coming through to you.
Mm.
And to those people who say, "Oh, look, we don't hire people with disability. We don't have anyone with disability in our group." Well, you'd be surprised because another statistic that really shocked me is that 90% of disability is invisible.
Yes.
90% of digital accessibility
Mm.
barriers are
Yeah.
invisible.
Yep.
Quite visible to see someone with a guide dog or someone with a wheelchair,
Yep.
but you don't know someone has dyslexia.
Yeah.
And it's not as though people go around advertising the fact that they are neurodivergent, for example.
Mm. No.
So you don't know. You're making a big assumption that none of your customers require digitally accessible
Yeah.
content. That's something else that I've learned. And I might be
What?
stumbling over the language and I might be saying the
No,
wrong
no,
thing. It's what I've learned
no,
is that
you're
you
right.
just don't know.
You
You
don't
don't know.
know. You don't. I mean, I know people with brittle bone disease, and someone said, "Oh, they're not disabled." And I thought, "Well, she's actually got brittle bone disease. You wouldn't want to live her life. I don't want to live her life." And she
Yeah.
travels and she has a great time, but she knows she takes nothing for her bones to break. I mean, the
Mm.
thing that I also will come back to is the other thing that I get quoted at me is the 80/20 rule, where 80% of your business is generated by 20% of your customers.
Mhm.
And the business person will be focusing on that 20%. So they'll say, well, why would I worry about the rest? Well, what is the impetus to do it?
Well, if you look at two, and I look at two different segments here, I'm
Mhm.
looking at public sector
Yep.
and looking at what I might call the private sector. And
Yep.
there's, of course, there's all these grey areas in between.
Mm.
Um, people, as I said before, people get measured.
Mm.
Sorry, people are measured on their KPI achievement, right?
Yep.
So unless this is in a KPI, people won't do it because there's no point,
Good point. Yep.
right? Because at the end of the year, when I do my performance review with my boss, if
Yep.
there's nothing in there about, you know, creating digital content, content that's digitally accessible, well, then why would I do it? Why would I bother?
Ooh, I
Why do I
haven't
need to
thought
learn
about
this?
this. Oh, this is good
It's,
fun.
there's so many other things that I've got to spend my time on. Why do I have to do that
Yeah.
course? Is it another one of these fads that's going
Yeah.
on? It's going to be, like, uh,
Influencers.
yeah, yeah, like, gratitude,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, do I really need to learn about that? I mean, there's all
Mm.
these different fads that come and go. Digital accessibility, what's all that about? I don't need to know about that.
Yeah.
But if that's in your KPI, and at the end of the year, your boss says to you, tell us what courses you've done in digital access. Well, they can already tell anyway, because that's on
Mm.
the learning management system.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done the courses in them, and well, then that reflects in your performance review, and that makes a difference as to whether you get promoted or not, or whether you get the bonus, or whether you get to keep your job or not, depending on
Mm.
what sector you work in. So unless there's some kind of consequence for not doing it, people
Yeah.
won't do it unless they can see the benefit. And some people are naturally altruistic and will think, well, that I didn't know about that. That's really
Mm.
important. I should go about making my content accessible. I didn't know, that this was a problem in society. I'm going to do it. But a lot of people won't because it just doesn't, it's just, there's too many other things that they've got to think about. And I understand that. We've all got millions of things to
Yeah.
think about. So unless it becomes something that gets measured, and there's a consequence for not doing it,
Mm.
I don't think we can expect to see a massive uptick in people taking the time to learn how to do this. So I genuinely believe that it really does need to have, more emphasis put on it across the public sector,
Yep.
and providing training that's pretty easy to do. It only takes a couple of hours to learn how to make a Word document accessible. It doesn't even take that long.
No, it doesn't.
and provide templates for people to be able to use them,
Yeah.
so that you don't even have to think about it yourself.
You've already
The other
provided some
thing,
good tips there. Keep going.
yeah, I believe, no, I'm really very much a novice when it comes to AI, but everyone
Yeah.
talks about AI. But I understand that, AI is a lot more effective if it's reviewing documents that have been made accessible.
It is.
And and so again, there's all sorts of reasons why people should take the time, learn how to do this. And you know, you have no idea how many people are going to benefit from this. And if
Bernard,
you're in private
mm,
sector, you're going to get more customers.
this is interesting. Bern, with all of this, where are you going to take the digital accessibility knowledge that you've got? What are you going to do with it? You've got your
Well,
MYDA, the MIDA course.
MIDA, making your
Mhm.
documents accessible. That's a training
Yep,
program that we've developed.
yep.
We've actually had it implemented over in the UK with the Royal Society for
Wonderful,
Blind Children.
wonderful,
And they love the course. And there's a school and a council over there that are using it.
wonderful.
Um, we've also trialled it here with some of the government departments, and we're still continuing to have those discussions.
Mm,
So we're going to continue to push that. But also
yep.
we've been looking at, how do you make this more than just a training course, more of an awareness program around this whole concept
Which
that
is
there are
where I met
people.
you.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
people in your organization that
yeah.
that have this issue that
Mm,
you probably don't know about, and that you will be helping so many people by learning. So we're continuing to make efforts in this area by continuing to talk to companies and government departments about it. We offer, programs to people. We offer discounted programs to schools and so on, because we just really believe in it. I spent two
mm,
and a half years on this, and
yeah,
on a subject I knew nothing about 2.5 years ago.
yeah.
So it's made me look back at, I've written thousands of training proposals, sales
Mm,
proposals over the years, been in business for 25 years. I look back and none of them were accessible
yeah,
because I'd never heard of it.
mm,
And I think,
yeah.
and so now everything I write, I create in an accessible format.
And it's simple.
Yeah, it's not that hard to do.
No. Bern, what are some tips that you would, other than what you've already said, that you would give to people that are listening? That business person, that government person, that person with disability, a person where English is their second language. What are some tips?
Well, learn about this subject
Mm,
by undertaking courses in it. There's
yeah.
there's a lot of courses on this. I mean, the
Mm,
one that we developed, MIDA, goes a lot into the why this is so important. There's a lot of courses that teach you how. But
mm,
I guess when you understand the why, the huge impact that this has, the far greater reach that you have,
mm,
the greater opportunity you have to serve your clients.
yeah.
When you realize the why, the how is easy because you want to help. You
Yeah.
want to do something about it. So learn about it, just search up digital accessibility training
Yeah.
and, have a look at MIDA, have a look at other courses.
Have a look at
And
DASAT because we do it as well.
that's that. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, and
Yeah.
so encourage your learning and development department
Yeah.
within your organization. What are we doing about this? Are there
Mm,
courses on it? Speak up
yeah.
because you'll be doing so many people a favor.
Mm.
And you'll be helping so many people. We interviewed Dr. Dinesh Palapana, who was the
Oh, awesome.
second quadriplegic doctor
Mm,
in Australia.
mm,
Dinesh Palapana is an Order of Australia recipient.
mm,
And he very kindly volunteered to create a video for us for our training program. And
mm.
what he said was, "You'll make a world of difference to so
Yeah.
many people by making your documents accessible."
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by learning how to do this.
Yeah.
And just from listening to you, the daily frustration that you have,
Mm,
Rel, and knowing that is experienced by, 20% of the population every
Mm.
day, it's just shocking. It really just continues to shock me. And if you do
Yeah.
work in government, and if you work in a role where you can have some influence in implementing this type of training, please go and do something about it.
Yeah. Really smart words, Bern. Bern, how can people contact you to keep talking about this?
Yeah,
Hmm.
impactcorporatetraining.com,
Hmm.
and my email is burn@goimpact.co.
Wonderful. Thanks, Bern. Actually,
Burn,
I really,
B-E-R-N,
yeah,
at goimpact.co.
thank you. Bern, I actually really love that primary school idea because you're right. The young pick it up so easily. It becomes so natural. And I love the idea of mandatory. We know we've got the Disability Discrimination Act,
Mm,
which is where it is, but no one's doing anything about it. There's not enough. The act is nearly a toothless tiger because, as you said, Bruce McGuire, Sydney Olympic Games, and there's been other landmark cases since then. Nothing's happened. So thanks, Bern. Thanks for your time today.
yeah.
And look, if
Well,
you,
I would like to say, though, that there are government departments that are very
mm,
serious about this and they are doing a terrific job. I
mm,
know the New
good.
South Wales government is right into this, and
Mm,
they are spending a lot of effort on making, digital content accessible. So that's a great example of someone that is doing something very positive about it, and federal government as well. But
yeah.
it just seems to be, um, it's not a universal approach,
Mm.
and I think it needs to be.
I agree with you. It does need to be. It needs to be in all aspects of society. And thank you for just coming on today, Bern. It's been a real pleasure. Giving me some things to think about. If
Thank
you,
you.
re- oh, thanks. If you like what we do on the Digital Access Show, if there's others that you think, oh, they need to have a voice, please let us know. You can email us well, you can contact us through the Digital Access Show through our website, dasat.com.au. Like, share, subscribe, review, and we'll see you next week. Have a good week.